When I was in fifth grade in class, there was this let's get to know what your father does thing that teachers do. And when my turn came, I said, my father owns a mini market. And I kind of felt it. The specific quiet shame that comes with the wrong answer. Because the other kids, their fathers are doctors, pharmacists, lawyers, engineers, CEOs, HR department leaders, sales managers, you name it. And for me, I had a shop owner. And I spent the next 20 years trying to be the right answer. 9 years in corporate, sales, operations, team lead, guest relations, and somewhere in the middle of all that, I realized that my father was the only sane person in the room. And in this video, I'm gonna explain why in detail. First, let's start with the prestige trap. Corporate promises you freedom, right? When you see it on LinkedIn, on Instagram, everywhere. You see after work meetings in fancy restaurants. You see decent and expensive cars in some cases. You get the image of freedom. But actually, it's at the cost of actual freedom. Here's what I mean by that. When you are invited to one of these after-work parties, can you actually say no? Most of the cases you can't. You have to attend, smile to the camera, and show your love and your passion for your second family that changes every 6 months. Because if you do say no, you will get invisible negative points. When you get enough negative points, you get fired. It's as simple as that. And the more sophisticated the LinkedIn title you have, the more of that bullshit you'll have to tolerate. Because here is a reality that a lot of youngsters probably don't get. I didn't get when I was younger. I'm now 34, right? And I get hired like extremely quickly. I'm talking within 1 week maximum. But inflation outpaces every raise, and companies hire trainees at minimum wage. And also you cannot restart the ladder. So there is a demand for the job that you think you are good at, and at the same time starting at a new company will cost you a lot, because you're going to be competing with new trainees that are getting minimum wage and can actually do a better job than you yourself. And so you're not staying because you love it, but the exit costs you way too much. And the ones that are the top are also burnt out. 96% of senior leaders report burnout. 40% of doctors. These are not underpaid people. They are people who don't own their time. That's the variable nobody tells you about in the fifth grade. It's not a career ladder, actually. It's a treadmill with a dress code. The difference is what you're wearing, the price of your accessories, and the shit on your desk. And here is what this treadmill does to you. The moral cost is extreme. The longer you survive in corporate, the more you pay with your humanity. The payment is automatic. You cannot actually withdraw it. You become way less empathetic. It's not because you're a bad person, but processing what you see is not processing the bullshit that you see every day. It's just way too much. So what happens is that people either get burnt out, being forced into positions they don't want to be in, because they adapt to this environment, or they completely collapse and quit way too early. And the sweetest people become the sharpest knives. And it just becomes very ugly very fast with clients, with coworkers, and you cover someone else's fuck-ups purely based on interest, and you have to tolerate humiliation on yourself, on your colleagues on their last day, on some clients who are rightfully demanding what they paid for. But in this environment, you nod, you move on, because you have to. Because other people will do the same when you get mistreated yourself. I remember in Breaking Bad, there was Tuco Salamanca said, sometimes you gotta rob to keep your riches. I don't think he was talking about just criminals in the streets. This also applies to open plan offices. And not only that, the coping loop is brutal. Because you're under so much stress, your cortisol is maxing, and your morals are bending. And because of this stupid comparison game, your wallet is always full, but never full enough. And so what happens is that you find a release that isn't quitting. It's drinking expensive things you don't need, degeneracy as a pressure valve. And this is not a coincidence. The higher the title, the more the money, the more common it is to be in a degenerate pressure valve. It kind of becomes part of the package. The cigarettes, the cigars, the whiskey, the expensive other stuff. And the worst part is it bleeds into your personal life. You start to see relationships as transactional because you are calculating the ROI of your friendships. And that's the reality of corporate. Any other bullshit about climbing the ladder and learning to negotiate and all this crap doesn't mean shit, because there's always a way to pay your rent and feed yourself. But the problem with corporate is that you get paid way too well, so you carry on, but not way too good, so you can buy your freedom and stop tolerating bullshit. And so you stay in the middle burnt. And so what does the sane choice look like? Because I watched someone make it, and then I watched that choice get harder too. This market thing that my father did, this mini market, if something goes wrong, you just close shop and move on. But if something goes wrong in corporate, you cannot actually do that. Because even if you can't work physically in the office, people are reliant on you, and so you will have to open something you do online or some shit like that. I once worked while I was sick at the hospital. Like, I was actually getting treated and everything, and I was working on my fucking phone. I mean, is it insane to not to want to be burnt out and just have a boring shop that brings in money, brings food to the table, and I just close shop and go whenever I have something I want to do? I don't think that is. This is freedom in practice. It's not the corporate version. It's I am actually free. I can close shop and move on. And I have a friend who recently made this decision. He's a video editor. He also does web design. He is a social media specialist. He's skilled and can be hired very quickly, and he has like a very good Behance profile, and he's well paid by every metric. Okay? He let go of all of that and went back to his home country. Opened a phone shop, these second-hand phones, USB cables, ring lights, software installs. It's boring as fuck. Yes, but he doesn't create content for organizations he doesn't believe in. He owns the shop, he owns his time, and whatever fucking goes wrong, he just doesn't care. He can just basically close shop and take care of whatever he wants to take care of. It's as simple as that. My father's mini market, the taxi driver, the farmer, these people weren't behind. These people never got trapped in the image, and that's all there is to it. But here's what's also true. The exits are getting harder because 50% of small businesses are gone by year 5. And Amazon, Uber, global chains are systematically dismantling the independent retail market. And don't think that just because it's Amazon, it's just in the first world countries. Every country on the globe has a version of Amazon and a version of Uber operating in the country and absolutely dominating the market. And so the taxi driver now competes with the algorithm, and the phone shop competes with the next day delivery from a warehouse that pays no rent. So we sit here trapped in corporate because we can't afford to leave, while the exits are being boarded up one by one. And the system made you ashamed of the exit doors. Then it locked them, and then it told you to be more productive and work on yourself and climb the ladder. And I am not telling you to quit tomorrow, right? Because I can't even quit tomorrow myself. I'm not telling you to open a shop because it's also getting harder here. But what I'm telling you here is this. The shame was never yours. The shame was engineered. The engineers who got laid off after working for companies for a few years will tell you exactly that. The system doesn't give a fuck about the title that you are working so hard to fight for. So you were taught to be embarrassed of the exit, so you stay in the building. And the building is slowly running out of oxygen for everyone. It cannot contain everyone. Knowing that doesn't fix your job, but it stops you from blaming yourself for the trap. And that's where you actually start to operate from a grounded place, from doing what's actually best for you, not what the system thinks that's best for you. Because stopping the self-blame is where burnout starts to loosen its grip. Not through a life hack, not through morning routine, just through clarity. My father was not behind. The system just convinced me he was, and I spent the 9 years in corporate trying to catch up something that was running in the wrong direction. So if you have a crazy idea about opening a bakery shop or having a small business where you sell socks or vegetables or whatever you please, just go for it. Forget the shame, forget the titles, forget the LinkedIn bullshit. Just go for your thing, because living by your own standards beats living by other people's standards every time, because other people's standards always move but yours is always yours. That's it for me in this video. Stay safe and take care.